Howdy partners, this is Ice and C. Remember, etc. I'll hate you for it, and I'm bringing you a 1 vs 1 game sent to me by Nerdplaygames, and this is going to be between Orcs and Imperial Guard on this goofy map that I just have no love for whatsoever. There is no natural victory point, even though some of them are slightly closer to the opponent's base. It is a vertical map, and Nerdplaygames throwing out the good old GLHF. He's over here using Orcs as the war boss, a very sexy, tanky hero who likes to bash him up. And over here we have BH Anwen, whatever. We're going to call him Anwen, playing as the Imperial Guard with the Death Corps of Krieg DLC Lord General. So they all sound like they're talking through a mask, which I've heard from a lot of people is very annoying. First engagement here, 2 double shooters and the war boss engaging the single guardsman and that sentinel. Not going to go well for those guardsmen. They're very squishy, cannot take a lot of damage but can dish out a lot of good damage, especially in tier 3. Tier 2 after they get their Commissar Lord and plasma guns, as well as their Sergeant, which you should always get in tier 1. Pushing back, using that war boss to some great effect, I gotta say, and for some reason the Imperial Guard player missed his stomp off on the war boss. Definitely should not have engaged like he did. He had a single guardsman squad and a sentinel against the war boss and 2 shooters. Definitely should have at least waited for the second guardsman squad to show up before engaging that at all. And definitely should have been a little bit more careful engaging that stomp. Nerdplay just absolutely outdoing him in that respect. You can see this Lord General, him and his retinue are sitting behind this cover, taking shots at those shooter boys, doing a lot of damage. I would almost suggest at this point tying them up in melee. But yeah, with the... pretty sure... Nope, they just got their knob leader. They don't have the biggest shooter yet. Oh, and yeah, see, there you go, right there. He's taking my advice. It's like he knows what I'm going to say, and ends up getting forced off, being surrounded by the Lord General and the Sentinel. Very difficult for shooters to take those out, especially with the Lord General being in cover. So over here you can see triple gens for Nerdplay, and this is great especially for Orcs because they do not require very much power at all. Sometimes you can get away with even like 2 nodes on, or 2 generators on 1 node, starting early off. And you can see over here Anwen just now putting down his 2 generators, and I understand why. With the lost map control, Orc boys very good at taking down generators, so definitely don't want to throw them down too early and get and lose like a whole bunch of them. Lord General over here getting tied up, both guardsmen squads getting forced off. A good split up by Nerdplay, covering as much ground as he possibly can and thinning those guardsmen where they would normally have liked to been definitely in the numbers altogether, laying down tons of fire into the Orcs, but not what was going to happen for him at all. You can see that in a response to all of these Orc boys, he's breaking out a heavy weapons team, and I can agree with this entirely. Orcs aren't that good at dealing with suppression firing teams, especially when they go for double shooter. But Nerdplay being very conservative, not going for the triple shooter or double shooter, double slugger at all. Definitely saving up for something, probably gauging his opponent's build, and we may see some Storm Boys to counter this heavy weapons team. Now, unlike Assault Marines, Storm Boys not nearly as good against weapon teams because they do not do knockdown. They jump in, and I think it's not until they get their knob leader that they stun and then they start attacking, which is good enough to force them off, but not good enough to get some model damage down on them. And yeah, as you can see right here, he's thinking what I'm thinking, we're thinking together at different time frames too, and there's Blackjack rooting for you, Nerdplay, in the background, just barking all the frigging time. I love that little dog. And yeah, now you can see the Imperial Guard player definitely starting to take some map control back. Definitely what he needs to do. That war boss, yep, getting suppressed right there. Not going to be good for him. But we're going to see what Nerdplay can make happen here. The Storm Boy is still a little bit ways off. That boss taking some damage. And yep, here you go. The Storm Boy's jumping in. See, not getting the stun off, but forcing the retreat nonetheless. And getting back that map control. You see Catachan Devils coming up. Lord General. Oh god, no, oh god. Okay, yeah, don't want to get those Catachans stuck in that much with all those boys. Storm Boys especially with that power melee. You can see that Sentinel getting stuck there, and it's going to go down, yep. Getting stuck on those Storm Boys, the movement kind of glitchy, especially with all those models there. That's the one thing I think doesn't really go well for the squad model system in this game. And as you can see, just constantly every time he loses one generator, he puts down another one. I really don't know why he's doing that. He should, if he can, he should be putting down all three of them. Perhaps just trying to play as conservatively as possible. Lord General over here without his retinue is possibly to save requisition. And yeah, you can see now he's getting back his some of his retinue members, but the model being kind of silly and saying that we're purchasing another Lord General, even though that is not what's going on. Yep, these guardsmen going ahead and taking back some map control. These Slugger Boys kind of out here in an awkward position, but the war boss just there to make sure they feel comfortable and absolutely safe. Storm Boys jumping in, going to get absolutely hammered by these Catachans and those guardsmen. Yeah, gonna lose a ton of models. Are they going to lose another one? No, maybe. Hold on. Gets away. Good luck for that is absolutely lucky, keeping 2 out of the 5 models. So, and that's going to save Nerdplay some much needed requisition. 40 requisition, 4 power. So yeah, that's quite painful for orcs to reinforce. And so far, a very interesting game. Both players playing very defensively, taking care of their units. I mean, the Sentinel going down, that's not a very big surprise. That happens quite often. And you can see those guardsmen getting shot off with by those shooter boys. Again, jumping in here with those Storm Boys. They got the improved rocket packs, and you can see now they've got their knob leader and how much damage they're able to do to those weapons team as they retreat. And you can see the Lord General dishing out a lot of good damage to those Storm Boys. Not going to be able to quite get them. 60 HP left. Getting another awesome Gen Bash off. If you can do this against Guardsmen, I absolutely recommend that you do so. Guardsmen do not recover from lost power well at all. And if you were not aware of this, the Storm Boy knob is indeed heavy melee, so that's why he was able to take down those generators quite quickly. And he's breaking out a Manicore Anwin, that is, and I cannot agree with that at all. I've done this many times, and if you are playing against a player of a good caliber, that Manicore is just going to be a huge paperweight. Not to mention, with as flimsy as its armor is, it is about as easy to take out as a sentinel is maybe even easier, just as long as you can get to it, which is the only real difficult part. And yeah, you can see over here Lord General leading the charge into all these boys. That's kind of silly, going to get knocked down and forced to retreat. And you could see, ooh, big Manicore shell going off and gibbing a squad instantly there. I think that was a stick bomb squad if I'm not mistaken. Or I could be horribly mistaken if I messed that up. Terribly sorry. And you can see over here, War Boss, what gear does he have? He's level 2, he's getting the Power Claw, and he has the Boss Pull, a anti-suppression item. Very, very good for, what's it called? Oh, very good for the whole blob. And, take note that it is not a, it does not stop suppression entirely. And it 50% less suppression. So thank you, Tooltip. You are quite awesome. 95 DPS, heavy melee damage on that claw. Would not be surprised to see something like spiky armor or when he gets into tier 3 heavy armor. That's a very good upgrade for the War Boss. These Slugga boys getting caught out here in the open using Swamp'em on that Lord General. Doing a ton of damage. Getting knocked back by a shotgun blast. Lord General losing a retinue member there. If you were wondering why his health jumped up so quickly, must have had the Sergeant upgrade or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. You can see 320, 416. The Orcs having a double cap, able to keep a lot of the map control. And this is what I'm talking about. This is one of those maps where you need to be able to split up your unit because it is wider than it is long. Well, I mean, as far as all of the points are. And Orcs can split up their units fairly well and fairly cheaply too. Very powerful in some respects, but can bleed quite a lot. But considering how cheap that a lot of Orc units are, bleeding is generally the least of their worries. This War Boss going to get sent back real quick, but baiting with his War Boss, able to get down another generator, and that has got to be just a hard thing to look at with these or for the Lord General Imperial Guard. I'm sorry. Breaking out a Imperial Guard Chimera. I understand why, but I don't know how well that's going to help him right now. With this Storm Boy squad out on the field and with Nerdplay getting into tier 3 quite quickly. Blackjack in the background, absolutely happy about that. It's like he always starts to bark at the most monumental of times. Let's see if my other dogs start barking. Again, using Swamp'em on that Lord General, able to kill quite a bit of those retinue members, and that's a frustrating thing about the Lord General, and also the great thing about the Lord General at the same time. Yeah, you see that how much damage these Storm Boys were able to do to that Chimera's rear armor. A good amount for a unit that is supposed to be considered power melee. Kind of wish they would be more specific about them, or about what type of damage they do. But yeah, as I was saying, the Lord General's retinue, he can reinforce them out on the field, and that does him quite a bit of good because it's like healing yourself with a slight cost. But at the same time, to get back up to full health, you have to pay something to do so, and that's kind of a double-edged sword. These Catachans in for a world of hurt, using the improved rocket pack from the Storm Boys to send one of their boys flying at those Catachans, knocking them down long enough for the boys to get in, do some damage, and take out the entire squad. This is what I'm talking about. This is why you do not get a mana core this early, because you can take shots at them all day long, and if they are watching, they will most certainly dodge it. You generally want to tar pit them as best as you can and force them into a spot where you can hit them with your mana core strikes and actually do the damage that you need to with that unit. But unfortunately, not taking my advice, definitely should have gone for those Ogrins first. Ogrin's very tough. And not sure why this war boss isn't attacking that Chimera, yeah. I definitely would have taken a couple of swings at it. Rear armor hits, and you can just see how much damage that it does to this Chimera. Absolutely crazy. Using this truck to move his boys close to those guardsmen, and use your choppas, that's a dead guardsman squad. And this game is looking like it is going to be very quick here indeed, which would be great. That'll save me some space on my external hard drive. 500 gigabytes is quite a lot of space, but it is not exactly what you would call infinite space. I would like a terabyte hard drive. Cannot afford one, unfortunately. But yeah, aside from that, again, still no big shooter on these boys. And I'm kind of curious about why he chose not to get big shooters for these shooter boys. Again, using that extended range from the improved rocket packs. Will he be able to get that? No. But use your choppas on these Ogrins, and oh my god, that is vomit-inducing how much damage these Storm Boys can do. Level 2 Storm Boys. And, you know, does he have a truck on the field? Yes, he does. Okay, right there. Wow. I completely missed that. And breaking out knobs as well. Able to take out that Chimera. And the mana core over here, not long for life either. Very slow, unable to really take care of itself if anything should get close. And you can see Nerdplay being a absolutely sneaky orc, using his war truck to move these knobs closer to that mana core, and also blocking it from retreating back to the base through this path. Smart move, I have got to say. And that is a dead mana core. This game is over. Enwin calls GG. Good manners all around. Well played. You know, this was an excellent game. What could the Guardsman player have done a little bit better here is, personally, I think being a little bit more careful with my Sentinel would have definitely been a lot better of an idea, and been a little bit better about gauging where that stomp was going, because that initial engagement, just, that Guardsman bled real hard. On top of that, I think he kind of spread himself a little too thin way too often. Excuse my ADHD movement around the screen. But, yeah. Definitely could have grouped up a little bit more, especially on a map like this where it is way too easy to say that, oh, I can send one guardsman squad up here, one guardsman squad down here, and another in my lord general or hero down here, and then you end up playing against like orcs where they can do the exact same thing, but their units are a lot tougher to deal with, you know, whenever they're all soloed out, which is why, you know, a lot of times I make references to maps being very orky, or favoring races like Orc and Eldar, because of how this is all so wide. As I point at the screen and nobody can see my finger. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is what I would consider wider than it being long. The points being directly across from each other is the length point, and this from bottom to top being the width. And as you can see, everything is just along this line, and that's why I really don't like this map. I don't hate it, obviously. I mean, but it is incredibly open, and all of the stuff is spread out in this line. There's really no natural. So if you end up falling back, it's like almost all of this stuff right here ends up getting taken over by the enemy, and it takes you a while to recover from that. So not feeling like this is the most balanced of map, but it is one of the most interesting of maps. Yeah, definitely should have tried grouping up a little bit more. Also, I really have no idea what he was going for here. Whenever he would lose a generator, he knew he was losing a generator, he'd throw another one down instead of having all three put down. And maybe he was just trying to cut his losses because he was afraid of losing way too many generators way too early and whatnot. But whenever he had the generators absolutely protected and everything, he still never threw one down, and then he ended up falling back, and this guy was just a mess. Also, going for that early mana court, and just don't do it. Don't ever do it. Early mana cores are a beginner's trap. Oh, you know, it's like, yes, you can shoot them from way far away without putting yourself in danger, but a good enough player will know how to dodge it, and it'll just end up wasting your money and your time, and it's way too squishy. It dies way too easily. It's not worth it. I mean, later, mid or late game, yes, mana cores are great, but that's because you can keep the enemy pinned back to a point where you know, you can actually land those strikes or force the retreat with those strikes. Which usually you end up just forcing the retreat, but yeah, not getting them this early. There's definitely not enough units on the map to keep the orc player Nerdplaygames pinned back so he could use that, and then getting out the Chimera after that, and then getting the Ogrins, which it was just kind of a bizarre order. I think after, you know, realizing that the mana core really wasn't going to help him out there, you know, he went for the Chimera and hoped that Nerdplaygames didn't have any anti-vehicle, and he could just use it as like a pushing pawn. But yeah, and then after that, he just, you know, his strategy had already crumbled. Nerdplaygames totally used everything to the best of his ability, you know, even using the improved rocket pack, like suicide a boy into them and blow stuff up to really good effect. And that's something that I haven't seen very often at all. In all of the 1v1s that I've ever done, I've never really seen it used. And then getting a truck to support all of those boys, another really good idea. Boys, they're soft, they lose models real easy. You can reinforce them out on the field, that's great, do so. And then breaking out the finishers, the knobs, and kitting out his war boss fairly well too, not overcommitting there. Definitely would have loved to see the heavy armor on him, especially in the tier 3, just to kind of add insult to injury. But yeah, using his resources to great effect, being very conservative for an orc player, and that's a rare breed actually. Most orc players are just like, more boys, and to some extent I've seen it work very well, but I feel like sometimes that's what orcs get themselves into, is like this over-aggression and just like blobbing everything, and it sometimes doesn't work out too well for them. Bashing the guardsmen's power generators and everything, just doing an absolutely wonderful job of that. Boys are very good at that, sluggas and shooters, at taking down generators, so if you can do it, do so and be very quick about it, which he was. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about this. If you guys liked the video, leave a like, and if you would, if you like to, send me some replays that you've got, good or bad. I'll take them all, and I will commentate over them, and then I will post them up on my channel. And I will have the email you can send that to down below. If you'd like to leave a comment, correct me on something, or help me out, because there's a lot of stuff I don't know the names for. I just know what it does, and it's because this game is so complicated, and you just to get good at it, you need to practice quite a lot. And I've never really seen anyone who's really into playing random too much. It's quite difficult to learn by playing random. And if you love the video, go ahead and subscribe. There will be plenty more videos to come. I'm going to review another game right after this, so we will have 2 reviews coming up real quick. Alright, that's pretty much all I gotta say. This is Ice and C, remember how it's said, and I'll catch you pardon us later.